Topic of this podcast is when should you start a family? Or you're pressured by your mom and she's asking you day in day out to make a baby. Yes, that's me. That has been me, of course. Neil, and listen to what his perspective is about starting a family, because it all happened.
We always think, you need to be making a certain amount of money, you maybe need to have a house, you need to have things in order, you need stability, no steady income stream, no house to live in, leaving to travel in a few months, and it's an amazing thing to experience and see a human being grow up,
Because I think Ali waited almost a decade to make this decision.
That our kid didn't have to live the life that we wanted.
But that goes back to belief as well, right? Like, do you really believe in yourself that you can handle the pressure?
You would still have wanted to achieve more in terms of knowledge, intellect, experiences.
Like I said, like whether we want to travel or move around, or he's with us and he's coming along because he chose us as his parents, That's how I see it. Even my great-grandmother, had kids very young and had 10 kids. I mean, it's not the best example, but I'm just saying,
Awesome. All right, guys. So welcome back to the 7th episode of Men Forward, and we are very happy to continue to be doing this, and I hope that you have enjoyed the previous episodes. And this episode especially is about this person who commented on our video. I'll share the comment here. And first of all, thank you for commenting, because it really gives us hope that we are doing the right thing for the right purposes, and we are getting the message across to you. So the topic of this podcast is when should you start a family? Right? And there are so many nuances to it. We talk about money mainly. A lot of the people are like, okay, if I make this much amount of money, only then I'll be able to start my family. Or you're pressured by your mom and she's asking you day in day out to make a baby, get married and do all of these things. Yes, that's me. That has been me, of course. So we will start first with Neil and listen to what his perspective is about starting a family, because it all happened all of a sudden.
very quickly,
Tell us, Neil.
as fast as the swimmer can swim.
You really put him under the bus here, bro.
No, when? I mean, we always think, you need to be making a certain amount of money, you maybe need to have a house, you need to have things in order, you need stability. For me, it was the opposite, I was in Bali at the time, building this agency. Didn't have solid income stream coming in all the time, the usual stuff with building a company and stuff. And then it was all of a sudden for me, so zero stability.
I need details.
Zero stability, as in relationship just started, no steady income stream, no house to live in, leaving to travel in a few months, and it was while I was traveling in Europe. No, I was still there, but had to figure out on the way, while traveling through Europe and stuff, like what is the next steps and everything. But that was just my instance. And going back to the question, like when is the right time? I think it's when it happens. If it happens all of a sudden, you will be ready. And at the same time, there's people out there who may be setting things up in their life a certain way before they have kids, right? Maybe Ali was one of those people, who waited, did everything and all of that. But either way, I think ready or not, if it happens, you will put things in place. It just happens because you have no choice, right? It's a completely new human being coming into your life that you need to care for, and you'll figure it out. And that was my case. And ideally, I can't tell someone when is the ideal time, because you may be always pushing that timeline as well. Like, oh, I just need to make some more money and stuff. And I know guys like this, they're like always pushing it, or saying, okay, not now, when I reach, I don't know, 35 or something. To give context, I'm 30 years old right now. And I didn't think I would be that at this age, but I am, and I'm happy and I'm proud of it and I love it, Like, so I can't say there's a perfect time, but you own up to it if it happens, if you're a responsible
Yeah.
person, of course, and not a deadbeat dad. It would help, I would say, a lot if you're prepared for it. You have a stable home and stable income and all of these things. But I was able to figure all of these things out. The stable home part, still not yet, because I've already been to a couple of countries with him in his 7 months, and planning to, be more stable at the end of the year, get a place for more long term and everything. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. It's like, if you're not ready and it happens, you will figure it out if you're responsible. And yeah, don't I would say don't keep pushing if you set some limits on yourself, like a salary
Yeah.
or having a place, all of these things, because it's a beautiful thing to have a kid. Of course, it's a huge responsibility to become a father, to have a family and everything. It takes all your time, all your free time. But man, it's an amazing thing to experience and see a human being grow up. So yeah.
Amazing. And I think there is a good polarity in between you and Ali. Ali is on the other end, you are on the other end, and I'm right here in the middle.
Oh, you
I
just
am,
got cats, bro.
yes, like I just have cats, like I'm playing it safe. I'm just practicing with with the cats first, and then of course, like I do wanna jump into that, because of course, like a lot of the people also do it because they're like, shit, my time is running out, like my partner's time, like she's getting older. So a lot of the people have so many such questions too. So I'll push this back to Ali, because I think Ali waited almost a decade to make this decision. And what went through your mind, Ali? Like, how, like, what was it?
I think it sounds like a very, very long year, long, long time, but that's okay. I will survive with that. So we were speaking about that Ali has been waiting for a decade to get a family. And just to give a bit of background based on my personal experience and what people can take away from it. When is it the right time to build a family? To give a bit of context, I waited for 7 years with my partner very consciously because we really wanted to build a very solid foundation before we actually got a family. And also because we wanted to make sure that we lived our life to a level that our kid didn't have to live the life that we wanted. And I think, like, when you come, I'm like, then they can live their life. I live my life, and this is why. Um, when are you ready, and when should you build a family? I think it very much comes down to one factor, which is the maturity of the person, and their how much responsibility you can take for yourself and another human being, or two human beings, or three human beings. And I think very much it's the maturity of personality and the ability to take responsibility for yourself and other human beings through good and bad times. It's that will really be the shortest answer, because if you have that ability, you will be able to get through whatever it is that life will throw at you. Are there any perfect moments? No, it's like starting a business. There are no perfect moments. Some point of time, you just need to do it, and you will figure out things along the way. The least concern, I think, would be around the financial part, because a lot of people will be saying, let me build my finances to the level that I can sustain myself and my family. And you know what? I tried that, but life will be tough sometimes. You may be losing your job, your partner can lose your job, some unforeseen circumstances is going to shake your reality, and it gets back
Mhm.
to, can you stand on your legs and take responsibility and ownership of every situation for you and your family? Then if you feel you can do that, then you're definitely ready.
Yeah. But that goes back to belief as well, right? Like, do you really believe in yourself that you can handle the pressure? Um, Going back to, now that you already, have a kid, would there be anything different that you think you should have done before having a kid?
Yes. When you see that the kid is building on your foundation, he's taking everything that I got and he will be building on top of that. Retrospectively, you, even though you did your best, you would still have wanted to achieve more in terms of knowledge, intellect, experiences, because that will be putting a very strong and solid foundation for your kid. So, yeah, again, you would always think that you could have done better. And I would always recommend people, build a strong foundation for your kid based on your experience, based on your finances, based on everything else, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, because that will be the foundation of the kid. So if I would have gone back, I would even have done more with my life so I could give him a stronger foundation that he could build on.
What about you, Neil? Beautiful answer, Ali. Thank you.
Maybe have somewhat of an opposite view. I think I've done a lot before I had a kid. Like, I spent my 20s traveling the world and having a lot of fun and doing everything I want to do. So on top of that, yeah, maybe could have had more fun, more freedom, all of this. But man, I am satiated. So to me, it's okay. I think it's a good time. And the way I view it is that um, it's not that I have to adapt my life to him now, or we have to adapt our life to him. It's him coming into our lives, and he will adapt to our lives and our way of living. So like I said, like whether we want to travel or move around, or he's with us and he's coming along because he chose us as his parents. That's how I see it. So of course, I can be older, more mature, more accomplished, whatever, but that is going to happen. That is going to take care of itself, as I grow older. So to me, it's like, yeah, I think now is as good of a time as any time. And the way I see it is that when I get older, I'm gonna have this kid that is already grown, and I think that's pretty cool. Like, to me, that's gonna keep me young as well, keeping up with him and everything. I think that's pretty cool because even for my mom, she had me when I was young, so it's nice, it's cool that my mom is relatively young, and we did stuff, and we can go to travel or whatever, like my mom flew out to Mexico, everything, and it's fine. I took her to like a cenote, which is like a little kind of natural pool and stuff, and that's fine. She can do anything, so to me, it's like, well, I think that's cool. It's an advantage. And then, you know, I think we sometimes overthink the whole parent thing. Yes, it's complex, and yes, there's the human being, and you have to care for them, and your life changes and everything. But I mean, it's a simple thing, which is reproduction, right? It's child rearing, and every animal in the animal kingdom, whether it's a cell or it's a human being, is built there to reproduce, and human beings, for example, we can reproduce when we get to reproductive maturity, right? And now, in this time that we live in, it's like we delay our reproductive times. Like as an animal, or the old days, as soon as you can reproduce, you will reproduce. Like even my great grandmother, had kids very young and had 10 kids. I mean, it's not the best example, but I'm just saying, so we may sometimes overthink, like, oh, am I ready to have kids and stuff? Of course, you want to get to a point where you're mature and you've dealt with your, I don't know, whatever stuff you have to deal with and overcome, and get your mind straight, your life straight in order and everything. But sometimes I think it's too much thinking, and you can get to doing, because I know people that why I'm saying this is, I know people who are really accomplished and have everything, and they still on the fence, should I have kids and stuff. Like, man, I would say just look at yourself when you're 50, 60, 70-year old, and would you be happy to have kids, or not, and the answer there becomes much simpler. Like, I want to see my grandkids running around, my great grandkids running around, and like
Yeah.
a full house of them, so to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yes. And I think, I love the way you look at life, Neil, because you just do it. There is nothing is stopping you, because it's essentially the belief, because that whatever comes in front of you, you will be able to achieve that. And you have that belief within yourself, because a lot of the people with self doubt and not knowing what the future is going to be, it's hard for them. And it's hard for people to really realize that, okay, man, will I have this much money in the next 3-4 years that I can put my kid through school, nursery, blah, 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 blah. And, all of these expenses that we put our minds to. So, of course, like, not everybody can be that courageous, and that courage is not that easy to get, that you have. And I think from your answers, I'm hoping that a lot of people are getting that courage and becoming a little bit more fearless to really take that leap. And if they really want a kid, instead of getting into these social norms of I have to think about my family, I have to think about my career, my finances, have a settled house, do all of these things first, and then when I'm freaking 40 years old, only then I'll be doing that kid. And that is okay as well. If that is something that works for them, that's fine. But if you have that want and need to have a child, and you both have decided, I think you should just go ahead with it. I think this is something that I'm telling myself, and I'm hoping to listen to it myself as well. But I know that I have certain notions and limitations and limiting beliefs that are at the moment holding me off. Like, of course, like I do want to have a house, and all of these limiting beliefs that we just talked about. But I know that I have a plan, and I know that within a few years, I will be there. And I have set myself a deadline. If I'm not there by the deadline, I will still go ahead and have build my family. um, Ali, from your side.
It gets back to the realization of that I deeply believe that we have been created by God. And if we have been created by God, who is taking care and is a maintainer and a sustainer of everything, then he's really taking care of you and the human being that he's giving to you. And I think that one really reduces the anxiety of a lot of people, or especially men and women, because again, my wife right now is having her friend who is in crisis mode because she wants to have kids, and the guy is very much afraid of having kids. And I think when you have that realization, it's not you are the only one responsible for the kid. I'm really seeing, I'm like, kid, this is the God creation. I'm just playing a role in their life and not the only one who take care of. They are actually someone way more responsible than me, which is God, and I am only here to do my part of the duty to my best abilities. And I think that one really reduces how complex it is and becomes way more simple. And okay, I do my best for the upcoming kid with whatever abilities that I have. And that really made a big switch for me. I'm like, yeah, of course, my kid. Again, we always say in Arabic, and I think also like in general in Islam, when we say every kid is coming with their rizq, and rizq means that they are being provided for. Because one of the things is, of course, you want to give your kids a very good life, and a part of being a good life is, of course, a financially good life for your kid. And the finance part becomes a factor that limits a lot of people. I'm like, I need to get a certain state. The downside of this one is if you wait too long time, the gap between you and your kid becomes extremely big. And out of a sudden, maybe you are 40 and your kid is out of a sudden born. And if we see how they move together, it I would never recommend that one. Honestly, I understand it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But if I could, for myself, retrospectively do something differently, I would have had kids even earlier. And yeah, I think that would be awesome now knowing what it is to have a kid around. But maybe I was not to the level of maturity that it requires, as we said in the first question.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And I think we will just go to this question, which I really wanted to ask. Is the burning question. Did you guys have a chat about transitioning from the relationship that you guys have to parenthood? And how was that chat? And what did you guys actually talk about?
Should I say it first?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. I think for this one, when nature got its way of telling you, I think when Fatima got very close to the 30s, it was I think it was a ticking bomb. I think like, listen, I don't know. For a man, I think you can wait all of your life. I'm like, you know what? I'm living my life. For a woman, it's slightly different. So for us, when Fatima was very close to 30s, I think that urge for having a kid became way bigger. And then we had to rechange our life of coming from Malaysia and getting back to Denmark, because a topic that becomes very important is, where are we going to be nesting? And I think the word nesting, this is where I actually learned it. You're going to put your base, and this is where your kid's going to be growing up and so on, at least for the first years, because you don't want to be too mobile and all over the place for the first years. I think you can do it, but it's a bit challenging. So for us, we of course, but we have been also building on a foundation of 7 years. So we knew we had the trust, we had the understanding, we had the foundation that we were ready to take the next step and found a family, which I think why it actually works very well for us having a family, because there have been a very strong foundation that build us together. Because one of the things that you see is a lot of people when they get married, after 1 year they get a kid. How much do you know the other person in 1 year? And having a kid will definitely challenge your relationship and how strong you are bound together.
Absolutely. And I think it's not like people are not really that aware about, like especially when they just get into marriage, especially with arranged marriages. They're just taking checkbox and they're like, okay, marriage done, now kid, second kid, and then they start building their lives and they start getting to know each other. But I think now with so much awareness and consciousness, that I think people are getting a lot more smarter about getting to know their partner first, what she wants, what he wants, and then decide on parenthood, because I think being a parent is not the easiest thing in the world. Neil, how
Yeah,
was it
agreed.
for you?
Um, it was sudden, so I didn't have time to even have this chat, this discussion. It was just like something I just had to figure out on the fly, and to me, so far, it's going well. We're managing it, and of course, it comes with challenges, right? It's just not an easy thing. You have your sleepless nights when you're both cranky, and your time commitment is crazy because you literally have this human being that is 100% dependent at any point in time. So yeah, I didn't take the the step of having conversation and all of that before, and but yeah, now it's just a figuring out process. Like, this is our reality, so we have to make it work and put things in place, and like I said, when that is what you have to face, you figure it out, right? Which is exactly what we're doing now, and as Ali said, it's challenging when you don't have that nest and everything, and for us, we've been moving quite a bit, but yeah, like I said, I'm gonna take care of that in a couple months anyway, and have more stability and everything, and the thing is, I don't know if to say most people, but a lot of people may have help in all of this in the form of their parents, the grandparents of the kids and everything, and that to me is one of the most important things, especially with a really young one. When you have a kid and everything, it helps a lot. Like, for example, my partner's mom flew in from Ukraine to Mexico for some time. My mom flew in as well from Trinidad to Mexico. Like when we were in Argentina, we had a nanny, and then now we're in Ukraine. We have the help from her family and stuff. So it helps a lot. And sometimes it's important to have time alone as well, right? Like, because when you have a kid, it becomes everyone all the time, but you still need to have that time with your partner and stuff. So we make time for that, every week at least one afternoon. It may sound like a little, but when you get to this point where you have a kid, that is a couple months, it really helps, and I'm sure Ali can relate to this as well.
Yeah.
Rafi, can I quickly add something in here because I think it's very
Yes.
important. Like Neil definitely sets, I think the way that Neil speaks, he's really putting words on the mindset and the personality that you need to have. And I know you just mentioned it before, but now listening to Neil is exactly that one. Because if we have to simplify it and put it in a few words, it's the mindset and the belief in yourself of whatever I will be challenged with from life, I know I will find the solution and I know I will be able to keep pushing forward. And really thinking about it, that's the core of it. And if you have that mindset or that thinking, there are nothing, and not even family, there are nothing you can be afraid of, whatever it is that you're actually faced with. So I really like what you said. It gets down to what mindset you have and how you see life and yourself and your ability on how am I going to be facing life.
Yeah, I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful. And I think one thing that you also shared earlier was also something I would want people to take back from this is the surrender part. Like not only relying on what you have today, but also surrendering to the universe or the God, and believing that if this child or kid is coming to your life, he will also bring he or she will also bring their own luck, their own will, their own everything, and they are, they will bring their own energy to this world. And I think that is very important for people to take back from this podcast. But with that being said, let's head to the last question, and or last advice that you would like to give to anybody who's listening and wanting to build a family. What would you tell them? Starting with Neil, ending with Ali.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, don't overthink it. Of course, get yourself in a place where you've developed some maturity, and you have some things going for you. Some discipline, and at least you have done some things in your life, and you feel that there'll always be the feeling to do more things and everything. But why not do it with your kid, with your family, which is completely possible, right? But yeah, I think you don't need to overthink it, honestly. If you are a competent person, you will figure it out. That's the reality. Because no matter what advice or anything you see out there, at one point in time, whoever became parents, they had to figure it out no matter what. Everyone's situation is unique, and you may find it hard, it may be tough, but that is parenting, right? If it was easy, like, everyone would just become a parent immediately, right? But it's another it's another form of growth. It's another form of self-development, and it's a beautiful and fulfilling thing at the same time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
What about you, Ali?
I think it very much gets down to understanding yourself and loving yourself and accepting that life is a journey with ups and downs, and take it as a game and take the ride. But the first part was very, very important for me, because before you jump into a relationship or before you're jumping into a family, really get to know who you are and what are you coming with, because that will also help you to see which partner will be a very good partner for you and which one will complement you, or not complement, but like be the second half of you, and can support you throughout this one. And remember, it's a long journey. And as I'm always, I accept it would not be a straight line, but it got its ups and downs, and that's what really gives life nuances and makes it so beautiful as it is. So really understand yourself, love yourself. And I think, because when you know yourself and you love yourself, honestly, that will be reflected on your relationship, and it will also be reflected on your family and that relationship that you're going to be having with your kids.
Absolutely. With that being said, we'll end the podcast here. If you guys have any comments, any questions, feel free to write them down below. And of course, share, like, and show us some love. Thank you so much.
Boom.
Boom.